One thing that we pride ourselves on in this country, and it's something that the English exported to America, which in its current form is their clause about freedom of expression in the American Constitution, is the ability to say what we think, express an opinion. It's called free speech. And we've seen loads and loads of examples of people ending up in prison for very lengthy amounts of time, purely because they've aired a point of view online. Lucy Connolly springs to mind straight away, and I'll expect all the comments saying what a horrific woman she was and what she said and all the rest of it. But utter nonsense, utter nonsense. Any justification the state can take to bang you up because you've said something that, you know, strictly isn't by the by is absolutely unbelievable. And that's even more true when we come to the individuals, I'll call them, who are currently entering this country and whose population is expanding exponentially year after year after year. Now, Vindicator Strikes Back did a quite a powerful video the other day. You go check his channel out and subscribe to him, where he said that if you look at the nationality of the mayors that are propping up all over this land, about 75% of them aren't English. So this is where this country is going. Now, they're doubling down on this. And I want to show you this tweet here. And it's quite frightening, really, if you look at it. And this is Sadiq Khan. He helps launch the British Muslim Trust, an organization dedicated on purely religious and ethnic grounds to help Muslims get into politics and get people arrested for Islamophobia. Another Muslim organization. We live in dangerous times. Now, I'm going to play the accompanying video. It's very important, but what you have to understand straight away is the term British. I always say I'm not British, I'm English. I say I'm English because I am aware I have certain inalienable rights which can't be taken off me because they were passed down to me by previous generations of English. But the problem with what I've just said is that all of this is being subverted, all of this is being ignored because of all of these laws, all of these legislation, and all of these statute bullshit that's been layered upon layered over the years to try and dilute what our actual rights are. I come forward in time to the British Nationality Act 1948, where they've overlaid a British identity on English, Welsh, Northern Irish, Scottish, to do away with your ancestral right to say what you actually are. And then anybody else that comes into this country, anybody else can be called British also. Further compounded by the British Nationality Act 1981. And there's a couple of other bits and pieces of law as well, which have done equal amounts of damage to those acts by a generation of Englishmen, probably 300-400 years ago now, which were designed to protect this country. And we see this happening now. Let's have a listen to this.
Look, I don't want to sugarcoat things. For many British Muslims, these are deeply worrying times. That's why the launch of the British Muslim Trust is such an important moment. The BMT is already, as you heard, supporting victims of anti-Muslim hatred, ensuring that no one in our communities need to suffer in silence, confronting the indifference which has stymied the struggle against Islamophobia for far too long. By rigorously monitoring hatred, the BMT are providing decision makers like Mieta, Nurse and Sarah and the police with the raw data they need to take action. And we've got to back them. We've got to back them by reporting every hate crime we witness, because we can't allow our communities to be defined only by the prejudice they face. Instead, we must also tell a positive story, a story of progress, a story of integration, and a story of hope. This is the story that the British Muslim Trust will tell, of people who are both proud of the God they worship and proud of the place where they've built their lives. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
So that's the British Muslim Trust, and you've just heard what Sadiq Khan said there. Now, this organisation, when you actually look into it, has done what they've done just now, and they've attracted a significant amount of funding. And if you look into it, if you look into the funding model, you'll see exactly where that funding comes from. And I will leave that for you to work out for yourself. Now, he talks about hate, he talks about anti-Muslim feeling, anti-Muslim speech and everything else. But if you look at, the situation in this country, I want to quantify this straight away. One of the taxi drivers that does a lot of work for me, who comes from Afghanistan originally, is Muslim. And he's probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's kind. He gets on with my family. My family think a lot of him. He works very hard. He bought a house here, started a family, created a life, and he contributes. And, I think that's absolutely great. And I consider him a mate. But you get a situation where you get a sector of that demographic, I suppose you could call it, who come here and their job or their purpose is not to integrate, not to get on, not to fit in. And all they do is commit crime, cause trouble, unspeakable things. Go and look at what's going on with Rupert Lowe. And then you wonder why the native English population in this case are up in arms about the whole thing. And then you get what you've got here, further compounding the situation even more. And when you talk about these individuals wanting to find their way into government, find their way into councils, find their way into mayoral positions, again, the country, our England, is getting taken over slowly but surely. It has to stop. It has to stop. Now, have a look at this. This is the Bill of Rights, 1688. Now, there's this and the Act of Settlement. Both of these documents are supposed to give us protection from everything that's happening that I've just showed you now. Right? There is a line in this document which forbids, makes illegal what you've just witnessed, plus a whole myriad of other things. Remember what they've taken off you to try and create a world they want. And Sadiq Khan is a Fabian, quite openly so. It's all over the internet. One of the key things of Fabian society, slowly, by stealth. Remember that too. I want to show you this tweet, which is, again, equally horrifying. British schools are teaching children that Al-Qaeda were freedom fighters. What's going on in schools? Now, let's have a listen to this.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And on one of the last slides, with the title, "Are Al-Qaeda more terrorists or freedom fighters?" even, explain your answer. And they give them sentence starters of Al-Qaeda can be seen as both terrorists to some and freedom fighters to others. In one way, Al-Qaeda are terrorists because, however, in another way, they are freedom fighters.
Yeah, we know why they're terrorists.
So they're leaving it up to 11, 13-year-olds to decide what a terrorist is. It's insane. And the
Well, don't you remember that fantastic example of freedom fighting when they flew 2 jets into the Twin Towers in New York? Freedom fighting.
It's
no
awful.
suggestion that was terrorism.
It's insane. And the website in which these teaching resources are on, so it's TESS, which is the country's biggest website that's used for teachers to get resources from, so people upload different stuff and state schools then use it, and as I said, this is from 11 to 13-year-olds, which is absolutely crazy, and the fact that this is being taught, it is leaving 11 to 13-year-olds to decide what terrorist is.
This is kids right now. Mega challenging task. It's all in this sort of package of lessons being given to kids in state schools as we speak, age of 11, 12, 13. Mega challenging tasks. Why is it so difficult to define what a terrorist is?
Yeah, why is it so difficult? And you're talking to a child of the 80s that heard the term IRA on the television fairly frequently. Obviously, different kettle of fish again. But this is where they are teaching our children a skewed version of history for, effectively an agenda. Now, I'll leave you with this when they talk about Al-Qaeda. If I saw a powerful documentary a long time ago about the history of all of this, and if you look back to the time of the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, and you're going back to the 80s, start from there and start reading, start researching, and then track the whole thing forward again. You'll start to learn a bit of truth. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share my stuff. I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo.